It's been over 2 months since the UCL draws came out, and the reactions have been mixed to say the least. I wanted to find out what the people actually think. So let's do that in this video. Now let's take a look at the stakeholders, the fans, the club, and the players. Let's take a look at the fans first. While I'm working on the code to analyze the reactions from the fans, let's hear from them a little more directly.
Hi, I'm Alberto. I'm from Milan. I got 33 years and I'm a diehard, for all my life, Milan fan.
2010 itself, maybe, or the early parts like 2011 or 12. I saw Fernando Torres and I just fell in love. And like his goal scoring ability at that time, it was unmatched.
Personal gameplay. Like if you see some of the reels that come in even now, right? Like for example, that Ozil pass to Aubameyang, and say some of the goals like say Giroud, the back heel. So those are the goals of this type of play that I really enjoyed, like that fluidity in the field.
I am a Milan fan because my father is a Milan fan, and I think that my first memory rooting for Milan is from when in a hike in 1999 we were on our headphone on the radio to listen for the Milan Perugia that assigned the 99 Scudetto.
So I've been working on the code for a few weeks and I'm really tired. It's past 4 o'clock tonight. It's been quite a few weeks. Let me try to explain the logic of my code to you. So what I'm trying to do is trying to figure out the sentiment from each of the comments from all the YouTube videos that I'm analyzing, trying to figure out what score should be assigned to each comment using a model that I have been using, and then multiply that with the I know. It's getting a little too complicated. Let's break it down simply. So each video will have a certain number of comments, and each of these comments will either be positive, negative, or neutral. The model that I'm using will give me the score for each comment, which will be 0 to 1. I'm multiplying that score with the number of likes the comment got to get the score of the comment. When I sum these up, I'll get the total score for each of these classifications, and comparing those, I'll get whether the video was reacted to positively, negatively, or neutrally by the commenters. I am also extracting the keywords from each comment and then comparing them across all comments to figure out what was the most commonly used keywords. While I wait for my script to finish running, let's hear from my friends a little more directly about how they feel about this.
I have mixed feelings about it, and but I would say I tilt towards a negative feeling. Okay, because at the end of the day, uh, these players are performing week in, week out. They have internationals in between, and they have 2 extra matches to play now.
Yeah.
Apart from that, if you qualify, basically, if you followed the rules, basically, if you are 9 to 24th in
Yeah.
the league table, you'll have to play 2 extra matches. So
Yeah.
that's 4 extra matches. So I don't think that's good.
Mhm.
I personally don't think. And funny thing is, FA has mentioned that they're scraping the FA Cup replay so that they're claiming to focus more on the players' well-being and stuff. So that's why they've scraped the FA Cup replay. But here we are back again playing 4 extra matches. So it's just bad. I don't think it's good for the game.
On the Champions League format matters, I think, a mixed opinion. Like, better games also in the round phases. It's not a bad thing, and we're going to play against Real Madrid and Liverpool and Dortmund, I think, and it's a good thing. It's good to have some good matches, but this kind of format also, I think, add a couple of matches. And
right? Like the teams who were there in Porto, for example, City, Liverpool, and Real Madrid and other big clubs. For them it is beneficial as well as the pot 4 clubs, which I feel, because they are getting more Champions League time, more fixtures, more matches, or say more revenue from those. But when it comes to some of those teams which generally sits on the edges, say pot B or say like second and third pot, for them it can be dicey managing both say club level competitions and say in between some of the international breaks, as well as your UCL fixtures, which is very tight. With this, like if they don't have enough squad depth, sometimes it can be a stretch. Although it will be like you have correctly pointed out, right? The benefit in terms of like advertising money and all those for like club level.
Finally, the results are in. So let's take a look at them. Let's look at the data by first looking at the main league phase draw video released by UEFA. So these blue dots basically represent the comments made by users. These orange dots represent the keywords extracted from those comments, and these lines represent whether this keyword was present in the comment or not. So if we look at the keywords, the top 10 keywords, we can see Ronaldo is ever present here, as is the case because he is Mr. Champions League and he did the draw this year. Messi is also present because wherever there's Ronaldo, there will be Messi. GOAT, which is again linked to, you can see Messi and Ronaldo. So that is interesting. Madrid is present here, as is Zlatan, because he also was present in some of the videos. But you can see Zlatan and all of these other comments are totally separate, which is something interesting. And this is spam. So let's consider the comments which got at least 10 likes. If I consider that, you see first of all the number of comments have reduced a great deal. And now the keywords have changed a little. The two new keywords that we have here are Bayern and Buffon, because he also did the draw, and Bayern maybe because they always do well in the Champions League and they have beat Barcelona quite heavily in the last few years. Now let's consider all of the videos. So you can see these are the comments and the top 10 keywords from those comments which got at least 10 likes. So let's look at those keywords. We see Ronaldo here. We see new format, Zlatan, Champions, because this is the Champions League, UEFA, because UEFA does the Champions League, and UCL. Surprisingly, there's no Messi this time around. So let's look at all the videos combined, but just looking at comments which have 100 likes. You can see the number of comments have decreased drastically. So let's look at those keywords. Not too surprising, although I'll say one thing. I expected Super League to come up a lot sooner. So let's see what other fans have to say about the Super League, and then maybe I can say my bit.
this one is good, and I think more nuanced question about the Super League, the local versus the online community. And I were against the Super League, eroding in a night all the root of the football. So you know the kind of the sentiment that everyone could win a trophy. This is a simple answer about that, and I know that monies make a big difference, but think about the Atalanta that won the Europa League, with the Super League system. Atalanta, Bologna, was basically cut off from the basis from the start. So that kind of division, that kind of new tournament, well, everyone was against it based on that.
So let's look at the sentiment analysis. If you don't like looking at numbers, this will probably hurt your brain. I'll link all of this in the description below. You can go look at that. But let's break it down more simply instead of looking at all of these numbers. So these are the videos that I actually considered while doing this video. So all the comments from these videos were taken. The channel name is also there. You can see that this video, the main video by UEFA, and these two videos actually have overwhelmingly positive reactions from the comments. You can see the percentage of people who are positive about these three videos are negative. You can see that almost 50% of the people here were negative about were negative in their comments, and 53% here, 60% here. And this video by 442 Oons was more or less neutral. You can see 57% people were neutral in their comments. Can we draw any conclusion from this? Maybe. So Macwell is a creator I like, but he was actually negative in his title. You can see I hate the new Champions League. So maybe if the creator is against the new format, their followers will are more likely to be against the new format. Might be, might not be, or it might say something about the people that are following those creators. So if you feel a certain way and you are vindicated by your favorite creator, maybe it's an echo chamber. Again, something that I don't want to comment on. Let's move on to all the videos combined. So we can see that if I consider all the comments from all the videos, it's more or less evenly split between negative and positive, and most of the comments were actually neutral. But what if I considered the score here? So if I consider the score instead of the number, you can see actually most of the reaction was positive, then neutral, and then negative. So even though a lot of people actually don't like the new Champions League, it seems inherently the reaction has been mostly positive or neutral. Let's get back to the video now.
I have two takes on this. Like, first of all, from that like small clubs point of view, right? It's really good to host like big clubs, and like Sunil Chetri recently pointed out in one of the video, like if say any Premier League team, say Manchester City also, he exactly quoted this word. It comes to say India and plays with say ISL clubs for not like one match, two match, but for 2 years or 3 years. After that, their level will drop so much that if they go back to Premier League, they will get relegated, even if that is Manchester City. So that points also come like with whom you play regularly. If you play with big clubs, you are getting opportunity to play with say big clubs. Your gameplay will also get better. You will also learn things. For small clubs, that is really important. Apart from the uh, like that viewership point of view, like my club is playing against a big club, or big players are coming in my stadium. So that is one point, but I don't think those are pointless games because this for small clubs it's really going to matter. And as well as another second point which I have is like this season, because it's a big pool of 32 clubs, like which will be there in the table, right? This season, one of the major contributing factor will be everyone will want to be in the top eight. Nobody wants to play, say, another like two
Couple
matches
of runs,
with
yeah.
another opponent, right? Yeah. So one of the important thing will be goal difference and home away, like whom you have beaten. So this goal difference going to be a big factor. So for big clubs also, or say in pot two, pot three clubs, they will also try to materialize on those games. So there will be a lot of goals scored. Definitely, that's what I can say.
I think the number of meaningless games will be reduced. That is for sure. Because as if every team is competing for out of 30, you might say 36 teams, they're competing for 24 spots for 8 game weeks. That's really grueling, and yeah, I yes, that the fatigue part of it is there. But if you're talking about the competition, I think yeah, I think we have more to play for, and it will, I think, go till the last match day. Even if you say someone who is just hovering between the 8th to 10th position, they will be fighting for the top 8 like anything, right? So I think if you have 24 spots, the number of dead games will be less. I think that's a fair point that EFA has introduced. And also, I get the more inclusive uh, aspect of it. So lesser known countries who are in down in the EFA coefficient, club coefficient rankings will be able to get the opportunity to represent themselves.
And maybe
So that
make
is
the
nice.
coefficients
I
better
agree.
down the line and get more qualification
Yeah,
spots
yeah,
for their own
yeah,
teams. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's the
Good.
only way that you can go from pot four to pot three, pot three to pot two. Is just pot the teams from the small countries. The only way is that to make appearance
Yeah.
after appearances, so that the coefficient rankings get up. Yeah.
Football isn't divided from the society. Football lives in the society. And right now, our society is growing in a different way that from the 150 years when the football started.
Now let's look at the club perspective, the salary analysis. If we look at the salaries offered by the clubs, so on this y-axis you can see these are basically the wages of the club per year in euros, and the clubs, all of the clubs in the Champions League are listed here. These are sorted by the pot. So the clubs here are in pot 1, here are in pot 2, here are in pot 3, here are in pot 4. And I couldn't get the data of these clubs. What we can see overwhelmingly is these clubs spend a massive amount of money when it comes to their wages, especially compared to these clubs. You can see these clubs are spending around 10 million, 15 million euros per year, where these clubs like Madrid, Bayern Munich, Man City are spending above 250 million in some cases. So there's a huge disparity between the types of clubs which are participating in the Champions League. So what about the prize money that you get? So let's look at that. If we consider the prize money uh, that is being offered in the Champions League, I'll link the document by UEFA in the description. All clubs are getting around 18 million euros just for participating in the league phase. For each win, you get 2 million, or I think 2.1 million euro, and for a draw, you get 750,000 euros. I have considered for clubs like Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Man City that they will get at least to the quarterfinals. For these clubs, I have considered like Brest, Sturm Graz. I have considered they will just be in the league phase and they'll go out. Even if these clubs don't win a single game, for clubs like Sturm Graz, the money that they'll just get, the 18 million by just being in the Champions League, is around 190% of their annual salary. So just by being in this competition, they can afford to pay off everyone for the year and still have money left over to renovate their stadium, to buy new players, to give a bonus, to throw parties, do whatever they want to. You can see this is not just the case for Sturm Graz. You can see a lot of clubs like Young Boys, Salzburg, Club Brugge, Shakhtar, all of these clubs, especially the clubs which are not from the top leagues, have the prize money to wage ratio quite a bit, or rather, the wage to prize money ratio above 50%. So, what can we see from here? That this Champions League is mainly beneficial to the clubs which are lower down the rung rather than to the clubs like these, where they might be spending a lot more on their salaries. For Man City, it doesn't matter if they're getting an extra $5 million, because that is that may be Erling Haaland's monthly salary. So where for Sturmgratz that might be half their annual salary. Now, I know what a lot of people will say. The Champions League in the previous format also had like pretty generous prize money. I think it was 12 million or 15 million. I am not sure. Please don't quote me on that. But this presents an opportunity for two new teams to actually participate in the tournament. So the tournament has gone, the Champions League has gone from 32 teams to 36 teams. So for the teams which are lower down the table or lower down the European ladder, this is obviously a good thing. But I will just say, when I talked about the pots here, how the pots, these are in pot 3 and these are in pot 4. If you actually consider the average salary by pot, this is something that actually surprised me and I did not expect. So the way UEFA have gone about their pot system, the teams in pot 3 actually have the lowest average salary. You can see the teams in pot 1 have overwhelmingly the biggest salaries, then pot 2, then pot 3, and that then pot 4, and then pot 3. So the teams in pot 1 have overwhelming the largest salaries, and then pot 2, then pot 4, and then pot 3. So pot 3 is basically half of pot 4. This might be because Aston Villa is also in pot 4, which has a salary which is more in comparison to more comparable to, you can say, pot 2. But even when you can see the teams in pot 3 here, some of their salaries are actually lower than the clubs here. So maybe they should think about the pot system and how they do it, or maybe it's just an anomaly this year. And now I know a lot of people will say wages don't determine the success in a competition, and they don't. Absolutely not. They are not a certainty that the highest paying team will actually do the best. But at the end of the day, football is a profession, and over the long term, the team which pays the highest wages will obviously end up getting the most success, unless the club has been terribly mismanaged. There you have it. Let's get back to the video now. Talking about the players, probably most important stakeholder in this, it's very hard to judge, because for some of the players like Rodri and others, they are playing almost every minute of the competitions they are involved in, and they are suffering the consequences of that. Just look at Rodri, how he suffered an injury this season, or Pedri, how he suffered an injury I think last season or so. But there are other players who are not playing all the competitions and all the games in all of these competitions, and they are not getting paid as much, and they would kill for them to be in a position where they're earning tens of thousands of euros every week and getting to play in the highest level of competition that there is. So how can we try to have a fair crowd for everyone? If you are asking me, I don't know if there's a situation like that. There have been a lot of videos which have covered the number of competitions, the number of games that these players are playing in. I'll try to link some of them in the video, and how this has led to the increasing number of ACL injuries in the game, especially when you're trying to look at the women's side of the game. I'll try to link those in the description below.
As a Liverpool fan, I am certainly biased, and what catches my attention is the 8 games. I get that it is a good exposure for the lower teams, and also it's like not so many dead rubber matches. But as a fan of Liverpool, who clearly doesn't have squad depth, I am worried. I am worried about the 8 matches and potential two more matches before the round of 16. So that's my concern mainly.
So having a match, a football match every day of the week, kinda of disproves kind of take away the feeling that the match have a kind of importance, and this kind of way of mood to play also is detrimental on the athletes' bodies that are so much prone to injuries, and then the kind of result of the show is worse.
In conclusion, there are reasons to be positive and negative about the new Champions League format. All I can say is let's give it a few more years and see how it plays out. Maybe teams can take inspiration from Chelsea and rest key players like Cole Palmer was rested for the European Conference League group phase. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. And a very big thanks to Alberto, Doipayon and Shomo for agreeing to be interviewed for this video. Thanks to you as well.